We are back here in Brussels and heading into Game 3 of Fnatic versus the KOO Tigers with a spot in the finals hanging in the balance. Now, Fnatic's backs are against the wall, and they have to win every game from here on out if they want to make that move. But I want to talk about someone who's going to do everything in his power to stop them from moving on. Smeb. We didn't talk about him in the post-game, but that guy avoiding that early tower dive and his 1v1 play, especially on this Fiora, has just been tremendous throughout the tournament.
I mean, his Riven play was spectacular as well, but coming into this is the main thing that I was like, it's like 50-50, but the thing that really tipped my prediction over the edge was thinking about Smeb versus Huni in this matchup. And Smeb has just been so dominant to this point in this series. And we've seen him blind pick Riven. Apparently Fnatic doesn't have an answer. Now we've seen Huni play Riven. Seems like the KOO Tigers and Smeb do have an answer in Fiora. So where do you go from here?
It's a good question. It's definitely a good question, and that's where we can jump into Champion Select here. Again, back onto the blue side for Fnatic, so they have a little bit of room to play with when it comes to Champion Select. I feel it's time to turn our heads towards Daylor and the coaching staff and say, what are you going to do to set your team up, your players up in the right place to make the right plays in the game and then come out with a victory?
Well, I mean, the game one, we saw them all in on the early game, taking that Ignite. Game two, they slowed the pace down, but they found themselves at a mid-game deficit. I do think Fnatic did a great job of coming back in an extraordinarily difficult situation, and the KOO Tigers didn't close it out effectively. So now it's like, which one are they going to go for next?
I think Brawley made a great point in our post-game of our last match there, that Fnatic just need to get a cohesive team composition.
Yep.
They picked two champions that are great at kiting with the Azir and the Ashe, but then I mean, you went for the all-in, so you can't have the best of both worlds, because then you will get torn apart, especially against a pick like Tahm Kench. Additionally, maybe an early prior on Tahm Kench will definitely be there for Fnatic too, and just get a team composition with an identity, but that isn't as early game oriented. I liked what they brought game one, going full on the early game, but I would still like to see at least 2 teleports, 2 side stones, and then a composition with a clear identity that Fnatic then can play around its strengths.
I think Fnatic got a more well-rounded comp aside from the Riven pick. I agree. I think the Riven pick for them was they got to play their ego pick. They got to try the 1v1 top. They tried to camp the top, try to get that ahead. And now it didn't work. Now they can reassured, like, we can't win this 1v1 top. This matchup isn't the way we thought. Now we need to go back to picking top laners for comps. And this is their option to go back to that.
And I'm pretty sure we saw Yellowstar ran Ignite last game. That should have been the exhaust, especially against that composition. If you can actually dive into the backline with the Yellowstar, against these lineups that KOO is running, you need the exhaust.
Well, we have our ideas what we want to see, but one thing is for certain, it is do or die for Fnatic here. Right now, we're going to head over to the caster booth for the call.